Hi, and welcome to this truncated recap of the first half of the third week or so of January 2026. Give or take a day or some hours or minutes. I don't know. Time is a construct, and we're just like floating through the universe. So let's talk some stuff, shall we? On Friday, January 17th, Tanya and I flew to Las Vegas to help a friend celebrate her 50th birthday. We went early just so we could finally see or have the opportunity to see Cirque du Soleil's Mad Apple at the New York Hotel and Casino. It was a pretty robust show, as well, every Cirque du Soleil show is. And there was, this was more of the Broadway style rather than the big tent circus style. So you had a lot more live music. The musicians would actually come out on the stage and do some solos and performances, along with a lot of dancers and whatnot, which really leaned into the show aspect. Of course, there were quite a few jaw-dropping acrobatic routines, but instead of a clown or a set of clowns coming out and doing skits and crowd work, like they do in their tent shows that, keep the audience engaged and entertained while the tech crew sets up the next act or breaks down and sets up and yada yada yada. This one actually had some, show performers. So you had a juggler and puppeteer do some work, and his vulgar shadow puppet interpretation of The Lion King was hilarious. There was a stand-up comedian who was decent. I run hot and cold. Well, actually, I don't even run hot and cold over stand-up comedy. I usually run lukewarm. Humor it's an art form and a skill set. This really did not give you the format of the show really didn't give the comedian a chance to really kind of get a vibe of the audience about what material he had in his toolbox to use. He had to come out and go real quick, but he got a couple of chuckles and a grin out of me, and there was some laughter in the audience. So he did it. He did his job. And good for him. And the other was a magician whose crowd work was on fleek, as the youths used to say. And I also found him distractingly to look like a young Drew Carey. He just was. I'm like, is this Drew Carey's kid? But illegitimate or otherwise. But if you like Cirque shows, then I don't think you'll have any complaints about this one. As I said about the vulgar shadow puppet, lots of crude humor in it. It is an 18+ show, no nudity, but it's just naughty words and dirty jokes. But I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's a lot of fun. On Saturday, January 18th, in the morning, we went to see the primary reason for our trip, which was the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. And boy howdy do I have a lot of complaints about this. Although I do think there is a lengthy and detailed breakdown of exactly how and what and why I thought this really kind of depressingly soulless spectacle to be an utter abomination, birthed by the copulation of arrogant hubris and cinematic illiteracy. How's that for some buzzwords? I would suggest, and actually I will put a link in the description of Be Kind Rewind's excellent and hour-long essay, The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere is Nightmare Fuel. But I will probably be seeing this again because of the group I was with. I was the only one that was not impressed and really didn't enjoy it all that much. But Tanya loved it, and there's a possibility that when we make yet another return to Vegas, I don't know how, for some reason we're making 3 trips to Vegas in the first part of this year. It's just weird. But we might wind up seeing it again if the group we're going to be with in February, or is it March, that if they're going to want to go, but we'll see. That afternoon, while Tanya was enjoying an afternoon at the spa, I lounged in our mini suite at the Venetian, doing a little reading and some journaling, and I even watched most, but not all, of the Eves live stream on YouTube. Now, for those that don't know, Eves stands for Elusive Exclusive Book Society. And this episode's book was one called Nightwalk by Bob Shaw, and which sounds like a fun, wild ride of a read that I might check out at some point. I don't know. And I also watched David at Garage Geek offer a lot of flattering praise for my little nook here on YouTube, on his channel, Garage Geek, and for which I am profoundly grateful. And hey, Dave. And I'll also put a link to that in the description of this video. Birthday dinner was at a really high-end steakhouse. I mean, really high-end. And it called Bazaar Meat. And if this is your kind of thing, I would recommend it. But only if that's like how this... But only if that is how you like to spend your cash. Because, yeah, there was some sticker shock there. There was a $13,000 bottle of wine. It was California wine, too. But $13,000 for a bottle of wine? Who spends that kind of money on that? Who has that kind of money? You could buy a car with that money. You could fly first class somewhere, maybe, for that. Or better yet, give it to Toys for Tots or a homeless shelter. But a bottle of wine? Okay, no shame, you do you. But that kind of baffles my spending mind and my own budgetary thought process. After dinner, we took a stroll through the Grand Canal shops at the Venetian, which is something we always do and we really love. It's just a great vibe, and yeah, we enjoy it. And of course, I had to stop at Bauman Rare Books, which is my favorite store in the Grand Canal, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Of course it is. And again, this is stuff that's way, 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 way out of my price range. But it was fun to go look and ogle and daydream. And let me move my notes up. There were 3 things that caught my eye and turned me alphaba green with envy. In the front window was a first edition hardcover of For Your Eyes Only, the only Bond anthology that was published during Ian Fleming's lifetime. Of course, there's the title story, which they used for the film with Roger Moore, and it also contains the stories From a View to a Kill and Quantum of Solace. And it will only set you back a mere $5,600, $5,600. So instead of buying that $13,000 of wine, you could have bought this book. More tactile. Inside the store displayed was a first edition hardcover, which was a science fiction book club hardcover of the novelization of Alien, written by Alan Dean Foster and signed by Foster. This one only set you back about $1,500. So again, you could buy both of these and still have money left over from that $13,000 bottle of wine. And both would last longer than that wine. You know what? You could, in the next display case over, there was yet another book, a first edition hardcover of Fantastic Voyage by Isaac Asimov, which I believe was also a novelization, but I'm not sure. That is the cheapest of the 3. It's only a mere $850. Just a trifle, pocket change, if you're going to drop $13,000 on a bottle of wine. But you could buy all three of these books and still not have reached the $13,000 for that bottle of wine. Yeah, I was shocked by that $13,000 bottle of wine. Who pays $13,000 for a bottle of wine? Vegas, baby. Vegas. But when it comes to the books I saw at Bauman, I love to look, to admire and daydream and about having that kind of money to waste. Sunday, January 19th was our last full day in Las Vegas for this trip. We had a lovely brunch at Bouchon. And that evening we saw Shin Lim, a sleight of hand magician and card trick performer over at the Palace Theater, or the Palazzo? The Palazzo Theater. In the Palazzo, which is connected to the Venetian. It's kind of, this is a big labyrinth that it's really hard to tell where you are at any given time. The whole place is like a maze of decadence and gambling and just decadence. It's just, it's the most decadent place on earth. So I enjoy it for, just, looking at all the decadence. And I lost $5 at the Frankenstein themed slot machine. So, again, that's Vegas. House always wins. On the plane ride home, I did finish Sacrament by Clive Barker. And it is my hope to start working on a review of it this week. We'll see. Also, while we were away on the trip, the soundtrack for Young and Cursed, the newest addition to my ever-growing soundtrack collection, arrived in the mail. This is a new movie I'd never heard of, but the sound bites that I heard on this Entrada website made it sound like my kind of thing, so I ordered it, and now I have it, and I'm going to be giving it a listen this afternoon once I stop recording this video. On to the small, meager amount of newspaper clippings that I posted on my blog. Now, I made a decision over the last few months that I would only clip and publish newspaper clippings when I'm home, or I'm during work hours or a work week, Monday through Friday. If I'm I take Saturday and Sunday off, but and I don't post anything while traveling. So I didn't post anything on Monday because I was on a plane and I'm traveling. And so only if I'm in the house around during, a working environment do things get clipped and posted and or set up for future posts. If I go on a vacation or trip, or if it's Saturday or Sunday, I don't post stuff. So the first, after that rather long ramble, the first clipping that came up this week was from January 20th, 1974. And it's an ad for CBS Radio Mystery Theater. My introduction came from a very unique set of circumstances. At one point in the late 70s, the family television started to emit smoke, sparking and smoking, and resulting in my calling my mother into the room and my mother calling the fire department, who showed up and said, "Hey, this thing could have started an electrical fire and burned your house down." I think they took the TV away and we suddenly had no TV. How long we were without a TV is anybody's guess. It was a long enough period that allowed my mom and dad to introduce my brother and I to the glories of old-time radio. There is a local radio station. It still is in existence. It's called KSFO. Back in the 70s, it was kind of like a old-time radio station, or a vintage radio station. It would play Mantovani and Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, you know, Connie Francis and stuff like that. Mostly, uh, crooners and big band stuff. And in the evening, they had an old-time radio block of programming that was very similar to the primetime television. So the 8 o'clock hour would feature 2 half-hour shows, usually, in comedy or drama category. You would have Lum and Abner. Sometimes you get Boston Blackie, Our Miss Brooks, Burns and Allen, Life of Riley, Ozzie and Harriet, and stuff like that. At 9 o'clock, that's when the CBS Radio Mystery Theater came on, and the CBS Radio Mystery Theater started in 1974 and ran until 1982. It ran for 9 years, from from January of 74 to December of 82. Its last broadcast was on New Year's Eve of 1982. And yeah, it quick became one of my favorite shows to listen to on the radio, because each and every night was a mystery as to what a particular episode would be. So the title CBS Radio Mystery Theater was both literal and figurative. There were a lot of mystery episodes, but there were also gothic dramas, historical dramas, comedy, spy stories, ghost stories, monster stories. There are probably a few westerns in there, science fiction and fantasy. It was a real grab bag. You never knew what you were going to hear. And I will say here that my all-time favorite episode remains one from 1979, I believe, called Hickory, Dickory, Doom, which featured Tony Roberts and Patricia Elliott. I'll put a link to that in the description as well, because that's my favorite episode. I love it. The remainder of KSFO's evening lineup was a 10 o'clock comedy hour, which played tracks from stand-up or skit comedy albums. So you heard a lot of George Carlin, Bill Cosby, Don Knotts, the 1,000-Year-Old Man, and all kinds of stuff. And then at the 11 o'clock hour, they did another block of episodes, and that were more like Lights Out, Inner Sanctum, Suspense, Escape, stuff like that. And then at midnight, there was a repeat of the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. Sometimes they repeated the episode that aired at 9, but oftentimes it was another, because that show aired for the first few years. It aired 7 days a week, so there's like close to 2,000 or maybe 1,500 episodes of. Actually, I think it's 1,399. I think I'll double check on the book and put the number on the screen here of what the actual, because I've got a book of the CBS Radio Mystery Theater episode guide that was put out. I had to get that. And let's move on, shall we? That was what, January 20th. There was I posted an ad at the newspaper ad archive, but I don't really have anything to say about it. It's a TV show called The Smith Family that Henry Fonda was in. I don't know how long it lasted, but I don't really feel I didn't want to do any research on it and talk about it. So let's move to January 21st, which was a Wednesday, which last week was a Wednesday. And in 1982, we saw the release of Death Valley from director Dick Richards. And this was an interesting movie. I remember the ads. I don't know if I saw many commercials for it or anything, but I do remember seeing the newspaper ads. And this is a movie that is jazzed up with some intense murder scenes to make it competitive with the highly lucrative slasher film craze at the time. But Death Valley's true aim is at building the kind of tension that would have audiences on the edge of their collective seats rather than jumping out of them. It's also much more of a dramatic film. The core story is a young child played by Peter Billingsley, best known for wanting a BB gun in A Christmas Story. He is going with his mother. It's played by Catherine Hicks, who appeared in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and Child's Play. That's where I know her best. She's got a new boyfriend, or maybe he's a stepfather. I don't know, but it's played by Paul Lamont, who is writing the the um, the career boost that Melvin and Howard, the success of Melvin and Howard had for him. So, and there's like this whole family dynamic thing going on, and Peter Billingsley witnesses a murder or witnesses something um, that Stephen McHattie has done, or that Stephen McHattie suspects that he's done, and a lot of suspense and stalking ensues. It's not that bad of a movie. I think if you want to see a better film directed by Dick Richards, I would suggest either The Culpeper Cattle Company, which was his debut, which was a Western that came out in the early 70s, and a film he did with Roger Mitchum that came out in the mid 70s called Farewell, My Lovely. Those both would probably be more interesting than this. It's not a bad movie. I don't regret, but I saw it on HBO and I thought it was fine, but it didn't make me regret missing it on the big screen. It just, it's not really like a horror movie. Not the, it's a suspense thriller. It's not bad, but. And also on January 21st in 1921, we have this full-page ad for the February issue of Pictorial Review magazine, which indulges in some tiresome moral panic hyperbole here, asking what all this sex stuff in the movies is doing to your daughter. Nothing about the sons, it seems, just the daughters. But this ad shows that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because it doesn't matter where you are or when you are, somebody somewhere is going to be engaging in performative hand-wringing about whatever harm or damage of the popular thing, or movies, music, TV, comics, or whatever, the harm and the damage it's going to do to your kids, or your daughter, or your children. Although boys will always be boys, right? I ended the week, I'm going to treat Wednesday as a Friday here, with a live stream with Jeff over at Jeff's Cave of Cool Books. I also have another link in the description. I have the live stream link so you can see me. My headset was weird. I was getting thunderous sound in it, and I couldn't, for the life of me, get the volume to work, so I took it off. So I'm not really happy with the sound quality, but so it goes. We discussed and geeked out over a whole lot of creepy 70s TV movies and shows. For me, the highlight of the discussion was the folk horror TV movie Crowhaven Farm from 1970, the original Night Stalker TV movie from 1972, the kinder trauma-inducing horrors of Gargoyles from 1972, The Night Strangler from 1973, which was a sequel to The Night Stalker, and another kinder trauma-inducing horror, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which is a legendary slice of 70s TV horror. We talked about Kolchak the Night Stalker, the series, for probably a good half hour, 45 minutes. I don't know. We were talking. I think we went through a lot of our favorite episodes. We also talked about Where Have All the People Gone, a movie in which most of the population of the Earth gets vaporized by a solar flare, leaving Peter Graves and Kathleen Quinlan, I think, and a couple other people left against some, mean dogs and whatnot. Then there was a Bad Ronald, um, based off the novel by Jack Vance, which just got republished by, I believe, Fathom Press. You can get it. Maybe I'll put a link to that in the description notes. It's going to be Linkapalooza in that description, man. Uh, there was also two really iconic, nightmare-inducing TV movies were broadcast in 1975. First was Satan's Triangle, and the other was Trilogy of Terror. And we had fun talking about that. Even people in the chat were talking about how Satan's Triangle just gave them nightmares for weeks. That thing really holds up. And we kind of ran out of steam or time because we talked about a good 2 hours. But we reached 1977, and I think the two movies I know for a fact we talked about. One was the Killer Yeti movie, Snow Beast, that starred Bo Svensson and Yvette Mimieux. And It Happened at Lakewood Manor, a killer ant flick that starred Robert Foxworth and Suzanne Summers, which is delightfully silly and entertaining, and very itch-inducing when you see everybody covered with ants. Like I said, we talked for about 2 hours, but we, ran out of time. And who knows? We might have to do another one to finish the decade off. And there's still a lot to talk about, Perhaps I might even hope this pilot might get picked up as a series, Jeff. There's so much to talk about from that time period, just interest and ability. But we ran out of time. And speaking of running out of time, there's still a lot to talk about. But here is where I'm going to stop. Because the following day, on Thursday, I returned to Las Vegas, believe it or not. This time with an old friend who had invited me along so we could visit the Universal Horror Unleashed attraction at Area 15 and go to the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas proper. Since we were staying at the Excalibur, I took the opportunity for us to go see the Tournament of Kings, something I always wanted to do. And we also visited Dragon Castle Books, the Hollywood Car Museum, and I even checked out the Titanic Artifact exhibition at the Luxor. Very busy few days. So as you can see, lots to talk about. I've got copious amounts of notes in my handy dandy notebook. And I'm kind of tempted to turn the Dragon Castle book visit into its own separate book haul video. So, lunchtime poll for those who have made it this far. What do you think? You want Dragon Castle Books to be its own book haul video, or just slump it in with the next Stuff of the Week installment for this month? All right? Let me know. Anyway, I'll be yapping at y'all in the next one. And I hope you had as much fun hearing about this stuff as I had talking about it. Until next time, bye!